We are Flake, Rose, and Spears, and we are Supremely Black, dropping content that matters. How y'all doing this week, co-host?
Man, it should be Kinfolk J.Flake having a good week, man. Can't complain, man. Everybody healthy, everybody living. Still ain't got my car back yet, but you know, it's at the shop and they working on it. Outside of that, had a couple shows over the weekend. Had a good time with that. Tennessee football, high school football still going on. They ain't caring nothing about your COVID rules. High school football season has started. I don't see that being completed. I think they get about halfway through. That's about it. Before somebody come up and start complaining, and then they're going to have to shut it down. But they trying to get a little money in these schools, so I can't blame them. I can, but I can't at the same time. You know it's about money. So, of course, they're going to still, have games to get their bread. What about you, D-Rose?
Yeah, it's D-Rose, man. And my week been cool. It's like you said, man, everybody healthy. I'm alive. We did a run this weekend, 70 minutes. I end up wasn't the best time. That Houston heat a little different. But we've been getting some good runs in. Had some good little time to kick it this weekend. My homegirl birthday, we all linked up for like a brunch and stuff Sunday. But it's been cool, great conversation. What about you, Spirit?
My week was good. My weekend was good. Went to College Station for this little tournament, or Bryan technically for a little football tournament. Played about 12 games in one day on Saturday, so was a little sore and dead, but I stayed hydrated and everything. Didn't come out the way that we wanted to, but we did good, and I made some highlights on some people, and so I had a blast. That was about it for me.
That's what's up. What y'all end up finishing at?
I want to say overall we finished like maybe 5th or 6th. We lost in like the quarters, I want to say. Yeah, the quarters. And we lost on play 7. So like we was down 7 points or 6 points. Did a hook and ladder to me, so I jumped up, caught it, pitched it to somebody. He took off running. His flash got pulled at the 15, but if he would have just pitched it back to me, I would have scored. But he didn't see me because Roy said he was running too fast, and he was just trying to get going and make them miss his flags. But shit, it was a good play. We fought hard. We did our best. But, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. But it's all good.
Can't be worse than that lemon flake ball, so it's all good.
I guess so. I was going to have a comeback for him. I'm leaving it alone. It is what it is.
We go ahead and pop the conversation now. That's all.
So do y'all want to do the deep topic first, or y'all want to touch on both of them deep, but do y'all want to touch on the main topic that we've been discussing, or y'all want to jump into the other topic first and just go with that?
Just the normal flow, however it goes. Both of them are important.
Okay. I guess we'll start with Jacob Blake and the travesty that happened to him, and God willing and Godspeed that he's still alive, that we don't have another murdered, unarmed black man this time, that we have one that's still living and fighting for his life. I know he's in stable condition, but it's still a fight for his life. So hopefully he pulls all the way through for 100% recovery. But yeah, let's just touch on that before we get into the 1619 project and just talk about the same shit, different day.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. And it seemed like every other week we having this conversation again. From my understanding, he was there trying to break up a fight. Am I correct?
Broke up a
fight.
Because it was 2 females from what I read.
Yeah. So even when you fight that, you can still end up being shot and accused of doing the wrong thing. Is what I'm trying to figure out. And like I've always stated before, if you scared, do not be a police officer. Take it from me. I was approached about being a police officer. I was approached about joining the Air Force and the Navy. Guess what? Nigga, I'm scared. I ain't doing either one. I ain't going overseas. My first question was, I joined the armed services if I can't go to war. They was like, we can't promise you that. Well, it ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't join a police force because they didn't pay enough for me to be out there risking my life for people to act crazy. You know what I'm saying? But if some people are built for those things, if you feel like you built to be a police officer, be a police officer. What we seeing right now is people that's not built to be police officers. Like I said before, we have to hold ourselves to the higher standard than the police officers got to do. We got to be the one diffusing the situation than the police escalated. When your job is to serve and protect, and right now you are doing neither one. Well, those ones that are doing this bad, we got to get these bad police officers out. They doing neither one. They not serving, they not protecting. Yeah, I understand. Because first I only saw like a clip. I saw him going in his truck, and I was like, well, I mean, you can't do that. But then I saw the whole video where they just let this man walk all the way around. Like, if you nervous and you don't want him to go in his truck, you had ample opportunity to prevent that from happening, from it going that far. But then you shoot him in the back on top of that. So then it's like, we gonna let you do this, and then we ain't gonna do nothing to stop you from going in your truck. Then we gonna shoot you. From my understanding, if you pull up like that, you ain't even got the whole situation of what's going on anyway. You ain't asked no questions. It just seems sketchy to me. The situation seemed real sketchy to me. That he in this day and time, that he thought it was comfortable for him to go in his truck. Like it's, I don't know. But, you know, hopefully he pull all the way through this and we get the full story from his end to see what happened. Because I would hate for them to be like, well, get your license. And he like, my ID in the car. And then he went in the truck and got shot. It just seems strange to me that you got guns drawn on you, that you would walk around to your truck. I don't know. What y'all think? I only got a little bit of it today. So
yeah, that was pretty much it. It was like you seen him walk into the car, and it seemed as if they were freewheeling, just letting him walk away from the situation. Then they follow him around the truck as he's reaching into his vehicle. Which, like I was telling anybody, any rules everybody's gonna say, from a police officer to a regular civilian, I'm not letting you get to your car to do anything to me if I feel like you're a threat. So at that point, I'm going to prevent you from getting to your car. They didn't. But the moment he reaches into his car, then he gets the 7 shots, and his kids are in the car. So it's like, why would you put him in that predicament? And he could have jumped back, or anything could have happened. You could have accidentally killed some kids just by misfiring because you just steady letting off your gun to somebody that was unarmed and that was walking away from the situation, just breaking up a fight. So it's just, no matter what, you can't make sense of it. And again, this is why people are pushing for them to be defunded, because I wouldn't even say it's not that they're not built for it. It's just there's a common misuse of their power that they do have, knowing that they are armed and people can't and won't really approach them with the same energy time and time again. They feel like they run everything. So that's just a misuse of power. It's not even about the training. It's just who the person is. Because you could be trained and still be the same person that had that same approach. And just going to be, how they are in a uniform. You know what's going on. So ain't no different. Some people traded in a Ku Klux Klan hoodies for police uniforms. It's obvious. Just be honest.
To me, it's beyond frustrating, and I just don't understand, because I really don't care what the reason or the issue is. If my memory serves me right, it was 4 cops, I want to say. Like y'all said, they let him walk from the passenger side to the driver's side. And then you pull on his shirt before you bust, but then you bust as you pull on his shirt. If it's 4 of y'all and y'all are afraid of you for your life, I'm opposed to jumping in the streets like we know what happens, but I'm opposed to jumping. But jump the man. Don't shoot the man. Jump him. Hit him with a billy club. Throw some elbows on him. Shoot. Try to DDT him. Do whatever you got to do. Somebody grab his legs. Somebody grab his arms. Pick him up. Restrain him. But to fire upon him and for me to be a father, I know most likely, and again, I wasn't there, so I can't say, but most likely what was happening was he was like, I don't got time for this. My kid's in the car. I'm going to leave. I didn't do nothing wrong. Y'all leave me alone. I'm going to leave. My kid's in the car. I'm going to take him home. I'm gone. Because he was trying to break up a fight, and I don't know who the two females were, but I do know that his baby mama was on scene. So the mother of his children could have been one of the ones who was fighting, but that still hasn't been said. But at the end of the day, he was trying to do the right thing and break something up because he was a black man. He was looked at as soon as they came on scene as he was the antagonist, and he was the one starting and instigating stuff. And then he probably said, I had nothing to do with this shit. I don't want them problems with y'all. Let me get in the car, my kids in the car, and go. But they still decided to back turn to shoot the man. And it's 4 of y'all. And 4 of y'all walked around the car happy-go-lucky with him versus somebody trying to step in front of him and be like, no, you can't go to your car, restraining him or nothing. But then you want to restrain him once he gets to the door and start pulling on the shirt and then bust at him 7 times. That is fucking ridiculous. And this is what I need to say to my people. Recording is one thing, but that's only one thing of it. We got to stop recording, and we got to stand with our brothers and sisters who are getting brutalized, who are getting murdered or not murdered, but just shot or disrespected blatantly. Like, recording is fine and dandy, but we got to do more than just record. We got to stand up there and defend, whether that means swing on a cop, whether that means bust a cop. Because at this time, I do not care about saying shooting a cop if a cop is trying to take us out. I am tired of seeing us murdered blatantly, disrespectfully, for no fucking reason other than the color of our fucking skin. And it's about time, and this goes into what we're going to talk about later, but when I was reading about the 1619 Project, and when they said that the Union versus the Confederates and how that black people was trying to fight for themselves and that helped with the liberation of them, it wasn't until war and then Abraham Lincoln talking about, do I really want to let black people free because y'all really don't belong with us, but do I really want to lose the South and the North for not agreeing to allow slavery to end and all this other stuff? People are not going to respect us until we get back into the mindset that we really have to liberate ourselves again. Because after we liberated ourselves with the Civil War and we did what we had to do, we had, I think it was a 6-7 year period, the Reconstruction, where it was great for us. It was great for us. But then we allowed them to go ahead and start undermining and, you know, reneging on their rules and laws that they made and doing their political bullshit and their agendas and narratives. But we have to stand up for ourselves, and we have to fight back against the heinous crimes that are happening to us. And until we come to a point, I know we say we better than them and we're not going to subject them to the shit that they subject us to, but there's one thing to subject somebody to something, and there's one thing to defend yourself and to take up for your people. And that's what we got to do. And if we got to do that violently, that's what we have to do, because this shit's not just going to stop with saying, oh, arrest this person, or we're calling for arms, or we're doing this. We have to show them that we're serious about what we're talking about and be serious about it. And that's all I got to say on that.
You ain't never lied. It's somebody, I mean, I understand the recording. I know it's more than one person to see this stuff going on. Is that we got to, yeah. It got to be a player. You record, and I'm going to do my part. We don't need one person recording. We don't need 14 different angles. I'm going to leave you up to record, and then everybody else step in and do what you got to do, you know. Just like that one video, I think it's a kind of an older video. They was out in Las Vegas and the police was arresting the black dude. And the dude told him, he said, "Hey man, you hold my camera." They're like, "Nah, leave it. Nah, I'm not gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna leave this brother alone. I don't even know him, but I'm not gonna leave him alone with these police officers because ain't no telling what they gonna try to do to him." So we had to start stepping up and getting involved and stuff like that. Hey, you know, if you got to go to jail, you know, they can't charge you with too much if you just there making sure everything is, you know, going how it's supposed to go, and leave that one person to record. We don't need 15 people holding the camera. We need everybody involved, feet on the ground.
And another thing, we can't just be yelling at the cops. We realize that yelling at the cops does not stop them from doing what they're doing. So as much as we record and scream and say, "What are you doing? Why'd you shoot him? Why are you doing this?" That's not going to stop them from doing it. So we have to do more than scream and record. We have to be willing, and I know, like you said to your point, Flake, about taking a job as a cop or going into the military, you scared. And I understand some people might be scared for their lives because they think if they step into that fray, they might be the ones who get shot or murdered. But at some point, enough has to be enough, and you have to be willing to sacrifice for the greater good and stand for something. Now, I'm not saying that if it's not in you to just throw yourself out there and to die for somebody else, I'm not saying that. But we do need to find the people who are willing to die for somebody because they understand it's bigger than them. And at some point, we have to stop just being so lackadaisical when it comes to this shit. We have to, because I know one thing for a fact. They might kill one, they might kill two, but if 5 and 10 of us are running up on them, they're not going to shoot all of us in broad daylight when they know it's being recorded and all this other stuff. Because it's one thing to say, "Oh, this person was resisting arrest." What you going to shoot the other 10 people for? For making sure this person makes it home and lives? And like you said, like all you can do is arrest them for obstruction. Okay, give me an obstruction ticket. I'll take that to save my brother's life, to save my sister's life. Give me that ticket. I'll eat that and I'll take that. But at some point, we have to realize that screaming and recording is not enough. It is not enough. We have to do more. We can't just keep letting our brothers and sisters die in front of us and thinking, "Oh, we're going to protest or we're going to cry or we're going to burn some shit down like that's going to change shit." Burning buildings down don't change a goddamn thing.
And Charlene, you would thought it would have the last protest. You would thought the last protest was like, "Hey man, we on high alert. We can't do too much." Man, them niggas ain't giving a damn. They still acting a whole ass out here.
And this is how much you know that they don't care. This is how you know they don't care.
Right.
Because after George Floyd, after Breonna Taylor, after everybody else prior to them, they still out here shooting people without no questions asked. So they don't give a fuck. They don't care. They still busting, knowing it's being recorded, knowing all of this stuff, and they bet no, nothing's gonna happen to me but administrative leave, and I might lose my job. But then I could go into private security. I could go into getting another job, whether it be a grocery store clerk or it be a CEO at a Fortune 500 company, whatever they could do. They
move to another state and become a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move to 2 states over and be a police officer all over again.
Like,
y'all ain't seen it. Y'all go out there and check out the video. Look at the news article. It's real. This situation real crazy. This one real sketchy to me. I'm hoping the brother can pull through so we can hear his side of the story, because it just seems sketchy to me. You got guns drawn on you. You just go into your vehicle like that. You know what I'm saying? It just don't seem right. It seems like he was told something, or they told him to leave, or whatever it is. It just seemed real off. And to shoot him in the back 7 times.
7. Rose, you got anything to add before we move on to the next subject?
No, man. I just my emotions with it. I agree with both you all, and I appreciate just the honesty, the transparency in regards to the conversation. Because as we talk about it, like I said, feels that we kind of get numb to it, but it's still a real feeling. Like I was thinking that the brother had lost his life looking at the video, and you just couldn't help it, but you just started to drop tears, and you don't even feel like the emotion. It's like a inside of a rage. It's like we literally, and this is what people don't understand, like nobody else are we seeing just get treated like this. Like it's just not. I'm sorry. Like they try to say what matters out, man, look. If he was that immediate of a threat, I'm gonna look at it as normal civilians. We're not letting you move. Whatever we need to do to you, we're not letting you move. That's just it. Simple. And this is as normal. Like, hey, bro, we're not gonna let him get to no car. He gets to the car, then we got to do whatever we got to do, because at that point you are a threat. But not walk around from the backside of your vehicle and take the long way around to your driver's seat and to reach in your car and get tugged out, and then you start shooting. Nah, come on, man. Nah, I have nothing else to say. You can go ahead and pop off the main topic that we're going to be discussing today.
So, Eric, today we're talking about the subject that you gave us, the 1619 Project, and it's a deep, very thought-provoking subject to discuss and to talk about. So, if y'all don't know, the 1619 Project is a project that was started in 2018 by a lady. Do y'all have her name? One of y'all got a name? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
My bad. It took me about 4 tries to unmute myself. Nicole Hannah Jones' name.
Yes. Started by Nicole Hannah Jones
Nicole.
in 2018, and she works for the New York Times. I'm sorry, for the New York Times.
Yeah,
and
New
so
York Times. Yeah.
They started a compilation of articles and excerpts, poems, discussions, talking about the history of slavery and when slavery began. And so a lot of times people like to assert 1776, and that's the Independence Day that white America celebrates for our nation's beginning. But when you research and you are a historian like they are, and like some other people may be, you realize that the beginning of slavery started way before 1776. So almost 150 years before the Independence Day that America likes to celebrate. So the 1619 Project is about when they brought 20 to 30 slaves into what part of the country was that at the time?
At the time, I don't know the exact name was the time. It was the Carolinas, though.
Yeah. When
they brought them into
20 to 30 slaves into America, and that's when slavery began. And so,
right.
I'm gonna let y'all touch on the parts that y'all read from the different little essays or poems or excerpts that y'all may have listened to, that y'all may have read, because there's a podcast, they had a magazine, they have a YouTube video and gallery of it, and then they also have a part, I guess, that deals with it that's in the Smithsonian. And so I don't know exactly what parts y'all researched and what parts y'all read and touched on. And so I'm gonna let y'all dive in and talk about that, and then I'll just add on whatever I have to say.
Quick correction, I made a mistake. It was a British colony in Virginia. Is where they first landed at. When they first landed, the 20 to 30 slaves or whatnot.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. A lot of people always can kind of get it confused, but yeah, it was in the Virginias a lot. But a lot of slaves did come to Charleston, South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But go ahead.
Well, the part that was interesting. That's a couple parts. I'm kind of all over the place a little bit on it, but one main part that kind of got to me is when uh they was doing when Black people first started doing poetry and art and things of that nature. That they didn't believe that we had the mind capacity to be able to do artistic things like poems and songwriting and things of that nature, and they didn't believe it until some doctors determined that we had the brain capacity to be able to do so, which was which is insane to even think about. And I was just thinking as I was reading over this, that could you imagine being taken from your homeland, dropped off somewhere else, and you only know one language or two languages and whatnot. We know Africans know plenty of languages, and that ain't just something new. That's just going over from going from different tribes, this, that, and other, from later times. And you're not even able to speak your native tongue. You are banned from speaking your native tongue. They force you to speak English, and you can't communicate with anybody. So they telling you directions, telling you rules, taking you do things, and you don't even understand what they are talking about. And as I also go with, which is another conversation we can bring up about some fact that you also all these people, all the slaves, did not come from Africa. We was already indigenous people already here. There was Black people already on this land that they went on ahead and enslaved as well while they was being here. Another thing that I picked up was I didn't know how much the North was involved. He's saying, the North always want to throw their hands up, like, oh, we clean, we had nothing to do with that. But then they talk about, people in the North that was making millions, becoming millionaires during that time off just, transporting slaves. All right, this slave guy here, we're going to transport him down there for you. We're going to play middleman so I can keep my hands clean because I ain't beat nobody. I'm not enslaving anybody. I'm not, taking nobody against their will, but I'm just like the middleman transporting stuff. We looked at like a high commodity, So the North got off, all of America got off. When you start taking a look at it, and some of the stuff you read about in this still going on today, especially with the highways. They talk about how the highways were built where boys going into Black communities. Well, hell, any city that's gentrified is going through that. They still do. They build a new highway. They go right over the hood where normal people would stop at, maybe at a gas station or a store on their way home. Now you bypassing it. Now you're not stopping in that neighborhood, to circulate your dollar or whatnot there because you can just go right past it on to the next exit. So a lot of this stuff is fascinating when you read about, how they thought about it, how the thought process was, even with the electoral votes. They started doing electoral voting because if you had a certain amount of Black people in one area, or this, that, another, they can get the popular vote. It's insane that this mess, when you break it down, is still going on to this day. And we all knew presidents owned slaves. We always knew, but I never felt any love for George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. And to be honest with you, before I even read this, I knew they owned slaves. So they talk about all the greatness they done. I really didn't give a damn about it because, it's easy for you to be great when you own 130 people to do work for you. Give me a head start like that. America ain't special. Ain't nothing. I mean, I like it here now. I ain't gonna go nowhere else because I don't know nothing about nowhere else. And America does a good job of sheltering, people from learning about other countries, unless you just go there and visit on your own. But yeah, we ain't doing nothing special. America just had a head start on a lot of people, and if you got a corporation where you don't pay people, you can have you a pretty damn successful company. Something telling me if I can get a whole bunch of people to work for me and I ain't got to pay them not one dime, I just got to feed them and give them somewhere to sleep, damn it, I will become an instant billionaire in no time. There's just a couple things I just read through. Y'all can go through it.
Yeah, for me, it was the correlation to Wall Street. I had no idea. Now, I'm actually going to be doing some more because I'm huge on the financial part of it. But so I'm actually going to be doing some more research just to kind of fact check on that part of it because that was huge. I did not know that Wall Street was a place where they were pretty much auctioning off slaves and families in that particular area, and that's where pretty much America learned this way of how to deal with stocks, human trade, all type of things. And it was right there on Wall Street. And, you know, some of our ancestors could have very well been in that predicament. But as we know it is, it's just, you know, stock capital or how you learn finances, that's you know, that's where it started at. So I definitely want to do some more research. Excuse me, definitely do some more research on that one. But that was shocking. But the one that really hit home was the medical experiments. Like, we were pretty much treated as lab rats. So like, and you've heard this. I know out of you all, I know I've been to the doctor before. I was like, that don't really hurt you, does it? And it's almost like it's a lot of things that we accept and we're not even really knowing of where it came from. Like, we've been put into places where they're testing a guy, they're burning him just to kind of see how long will it take for him to react to it, or how long does it take for his body to recover. And it's just like, those same practices are in the day. Like, I've had particular situations with family members that have been in painful situations and they're refusing almost to a point to give them pain until it's like, you have to tell them it's like 8 or 9 or 10. If not, oh, you can deal with it. So we don't even realize, like, a lot of those things are really embedded into the nation that we live in, based off of that. So of course, a lot of it, we still, you know, the 1619 project was definitely eye-opening. I want to do some more research just to do some fact checking with it. But as you listen to and see a lot of those things, you can see where those practices are, especially with the medical experiments. Like, you could definitely tell how we're handled in certain situations that people aren't either familiar with, or they feel as if that our bodies are so much different that they could test certain stuff with. And it's, you know, just like with the Tuskegee thing, it's like, no, we don't know any other races that have been placed with, you know, diseases just to see how fast Black people honestly could fight it off, or how other people, like, why are we being used as experiments instead of it just being like, just take care of things naturally, not let them see how this Black man can deal with being burned at this particular degree before he responds and says, ouch. Like, I'm gonna say it immediately before you even burn me. Like, it's gonna hurt. You know what burns feel like. So that was key for me. The financial part was huge, but the medical experiments, and I can see now where, you know, we'll be like, we ain't going to a doctor, but that's just something that's almost embedded. You don't even want to go, but you never know what that trauma could have really came from. So that was eye-opening. What about you, Spirit?
For me, it goes to the beginning. So I'm gonna start with the beginning, and then I'll go down on some of my points. But the reason why they left or wanted to leave Britain was to keep slavery alive, because London and Britain was ready to get rid of it. And I guess since realizing the error of their ways, but they was trying to get rid of slavery. So they wanted to disassemble themselves from Britain only because they wanted to keep slavery alive. So that's the first point. The second point for me was when Thomas Jefferson wrote the Constitution, and with reading the 1619 Project, the way that he articulately kept out slavery, but kept the definition of it in there without saying the word. So then therefore, it didn't seem like to other countries and other places that slavery was really being, I guess, praised in America, even though we know it was. Then thirdly to me was how after the Civil War and during the Reconstruction period, how our Civil Rights Act created opportunities for white people, because I didn't realize at that point in time, poor white people wasn't able to go to school. But because of the Reconstruction area and what we did, we allowed, because we fought for schooling for us and the poor whites. And so therefore, we helped them get an education that they wouldn't have been afforded without us fighting for them. And then the other beautiful thing about that was, though, during that time was, there was, I want to say, I read, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know at least 5 Black senators, but I want to say up to 12 Black senators in, you know, the Senate at that point in time after the Civil War during the Reconstruction period. But then what also I guess is not an epiphany, but you really don't realize the evilness and the despicableness of America until you read and research things like this, was when they got tired of seeing the growth and the expansion of us, and they thought that we was going to, I guess, become higher than them, or they was fearing that we could excel and they wouldn't. How they weave that these legislation laws, these agendas, these business coups and all this other stuff in order to bring us back down to, and to take away all the gain and the prospering that we got in those small amount of years. Because again, I want to say Reconstruction was only 7 to 10 years, but in those 7 years, they took it all beneath us and they swept it away from us. And so we was right back to where we started. Even though there's no more slavery, we were still enslaved to a sense. And so that was another thing that killed me. And then with researching just now in America, like the things when, like you was talking about, Rose, with the wealth aspect and the financial aspect, to realize like when we get graded by the EOC, whatever, we're at the bottom of the map. So when it comes to firing people for no reason in all the countries, and I think it was like 25 countries that get rated in the world, we're dead last. And then when it comes to wages and having unions, we're like second to last or third to last in the amount of people who, or the amount of companies that are unionized, because they understand that that gives the power to the workers versus to the CEO or to the founder or to the owner of the company. And then therefore we're dead last. So that's why we have people say we're the land of the free and we're an economic giant, but that's why the top 1% own 40% of all the money in America. And so those things right there was just eye-opening to me. And plus added to what y'all said, because I did see and research the things that y'all pointed on. But as for me, those things was eye-opening to me. And it was just profound as in how mischievous America is. But one thing I will say, and then I'll be done, that it gave me more pride as a Black person in America to take ownership as America as our country and not their country, because we built this country. And we, like I said, if it wasn't for us, education wouldn't be afforded to a lot of people. And so we're the reason why our kids and their kids can go to school free. Of course, it's not free because of taxes, but free. You know, we're the reason why universities, and this is something I knew, a lot of universities came from slave money, but I didn't know it was that many. But we're the reason why universities and HBCUs and alike are still running and still a thing of importance today. And so that was just something that stood out to me too, because of everything that we went through, all the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into this country, everything that we did for this country and built into this country. It gave me more value into appreciating America, not their America, but our America that we built.
Yeah, Killer Mike had said something when I was watching his Netflix series. It was like something along the lines of, you know, love America for what it is, because it creates that opportunity, right? But kill your master. So it's just more or less of do crowdfunding, really support your people, and really just build it up, because I mean, this is what we have to deal with because we live here, you know, in this country, just to try to make it better. But one thing that you had touched on, Spears, was within the 5 senators, because I've read 2 conflicting stories, because like I told you, I listened to another podcast that was talking about the 1619, and they were saying how some of the things were extremists and people trying to make it is that America was just built off of slavery, right? But of those 5 senators, they were Republican. So that really caught my eye. I was like, I know a lot of black people are, minorities, let me say minorities, are very prone to say Democrat, and they were really trying to hold on to not abolishing slavery. So I just really want to know, like, if y'all got to that point, I know we all were kind of looking at different sections, probably caught our attention. But majority of us was Republicans at that time. And so it's, I guess it's kind of, I wonder what that connection is now, like, because so many people are like, we have to be Democrat, and you have to be this, just based off of your skin color. But that was huge for me because I didn't really know that much that the Democrats were fighting to keep it slavery alive, where Republicans were fighting to have it abolished. And I don't think most people of us know that because they're just so crazy about, I can't be Republican. May just start want to do some research in regards to parties. I mean, you support who you want. That's not what we're here for. But it is very eye-opening that the Republicans and how it can be frowned upon in certain communities were actually fighting for it to be abolished, and the Democrats were really wanting to just keep it as a thing, to keep building the country. So that was an interesting little twist as well.
Yeah, I've been knowing that for a little time now about black people being mainly Republicans back in the day.
Me too.
I did find, but I can't, it escapes me now, but it was a point in time where something happened between the Republican Democratic parties that caused that shift.
Yeah.
Where more black people would start voting Democrat because the Republicans wouldn't hold their end of the bargain, and now here we are with the Democrats. To be honest with you, they don't hold their end of the bargain either. So the older I get, I start like for us. I mean, today when they wrote all that information out, it all men are created equal. They wasn't talking about us. They was talking about all that stuff in there. It pertained basically to white men. That's basically what it was for. They had black people in the office to make sure, hey, proofread this and does it offend you? I don't offend you. All right, we'll put that in there. We're going to keep that in there the way it's worded and whatnot. So it was not built. So one thing that killed me is when people say, when we complain about this stuff and we state the facts, and we really ain't complaining, we state the facts that will go on to people who don't walk in our shoes on a daily basis and say, well, won't you put yourself up by the bootstraps? Won't you work harder, this, that, other? We've been doing that. We've been doing that. And it's like, once you see that we do that and get so far, it's like, you doing too much now. We got to pull you back. We got to do this. We got to do that. And you see that now with certain superstars, Some people may not agree, but it happened with Michael Jackson. It happened with Dave Chappelle. They get to a certain level, they get too much, and all of a sudden they start, he crazy. Oh, he got this allegation going on. Oh, that's the new way of doing it now. So they can't attack you and burn your neighborhood down and stuff like that. Now they'll just put out quotes. They'll just put out stuff in the media to make you look like you crazy. Are you doing X, Y, Z to get arrested or whatever? It seemed like it might have been done even Cat Williams at some point in time. He started to talk about saying, I really wasn't involved in all this other stuff. People was making look to be crazy. And you hear some of these stories. I heard a story today about Michael Jackson, where they said he owned all his music, and he was like, I'm not giving it back. They was like, well, we'll give you a certain price. Nope, I'm not giving it back. Next thing you know, he was crazy and molesting kids. There's one story out there where the parent was offered $50,000 to say, hey, we got a picture of your son in his shorts with no shirt on at Michael Jackson's house. We give you $56,000 and you say Michael Jackson molested your son. Except for back then, they'll do a Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Tulsa, Oklahoma ain't the only place that happened to, where we had a successful neighborhood, but we didn't need other people. We had our own, and they came in and destroyed it because we was doing too much, or how they say about our brothers and sisters south of the border come in and take our jobs. I can't get a job because the black people got this whole little neighborhood, they own the city, and they running things, and they won't hire a white person, so I have no work, so let's go destroy that, because if they ain't working, if I ain't working, they ain't finna be working. They ain't found no money either. So it still go on in a different way in this day and time. I got a little story, especially, but I'm not gonna tell it here because it might be private. It's a private situation, but definitely when it comes to our black women, they are not heard in the medical. when they go to the doctor, when they go to the hospital, certain things they're not heard. I know somebody who went to the doctor year after year after year after year about a certain situation, and they didn't run the correct test until 15, 20 years down the road, and it was too late at that point in time, and now it's something that's irreversible. And this is fucked up. I mean,
you can't put it no other way but say it's fucked up. You can't even put it lightly.
Because it's like, what do we do? What did we do? What, you would think we was the people that enslaved them, that beat them, that hung them, that killed. We didn't do not a thing. We didn't ask to be enslaved. We didn't work for free. We didn't ask to go to Jim Crow. We want. Then you say we stupid and we don't know anything on how to talk. Well, motherfucker, if you tell us we can't read and you're killing us, you don't give us the proper education we need. You're giving us teachers that not even being paid properly. You're giving us old books is 7, 8, 9, 10 years old in those communities. What can you expect? It ain't too many people. That's why I say, I don't believe in saying that one race is God's people, but hey, if you've been through what black people have been through and still able to come through this country and still produce millionaires and successful people and never give up and still fight and fight and fight, we a special kind of people.
Hey,
very, very special.
Put it like this: all people, God's people, but we His chosen ones.
We're a special type. We're a special type. I know D. Rose brought up something about, them saying the Irish people, this, that, and the other. But even the Irish people, when they came over, they could blend in with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? They can blend in with everybody else. So we gonna put you in the projects instead of enslaving you, basically. That's equal to that.
Right. And it's like, it's a lot of things. Like, it just still relates to, modern day. Like you said, it wasn't the only Tulsa. When I was living in Florida, my godmother was telling me about Rosewood. I don't know if you all ever did the research on like the Rosewood massacre. Very self-sufficient community right off the coast. And they pretty much, it was an issue where they had lynched a black man over a misunderstanding, kind of very similar to like the Emmett Till situation. And it turned into like an all-out war, and because a black man had responded back and had beat up somebody that approached him, and that caused the whole town to go into it. But long story short, the mob of white men came in and completely wiped out everybody. And it's like they say that area is just so haunted for certain people. Like, you could just feel the energy from our ancestors there, because literally they wiped out the entire city, like everybody. Like, they were just waking people out their sleep, like just killing them. So it's like the Rosewood Massacre. And they have a book about it. It's not highly talked about at all, but when you are around some people that really know the history of Florida, it's deep when you get to talk to some of the people that actually know that their ancestors lost land and businesses that were very successful within that time. Just to hear that, like, when you hear it, it's like, it's just crazy. So this dates back to, like the 1619 project. It's always been the goal is to take over or make us feel as if that we were never successful without their approval, is what I really get from it, like that mental aspect. What's up, Chris?
I don't know because of your age, but they got a movie about that called Rosewood.
Oh, yeah.
And Ving Rhames is in it and everything, so you might need to check that out. Yeah.
How is it an older movie?
It came out around A Time to Kill, so I want to say late 90s, early 2000s.
For real, yeah. See, we know Time to Kill. We watched it. We was me and my sister was younger when we watched that movie. And that was like probably the most crazy movie we ever watched, because it was rated R, but our family let us watch it because of the
the historical background and the importance.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, they deserve to die. I hope they burn in hell.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I got to check that out though. I definitely gonna see if they got that on Netflix or something somewhere.
Oh yeah, check it out. Yeah, check it out.
So like y'all said, it's not just Tulsa, Rosewood. It happened in Philadelphia too. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the exact year it happened in Philly, but it happened in a whole bunch of different places. You could even go back to Oakland to the point with the Black Panthers, how they demolished, and how the FBI just torture them and disassemble them to the Black Panthers that we know. Of course, there's the new Black Panthers now and everything, but that's not the same as the old. So, you know, it's been happening throughout history. And so that's just, that's something we got to get over. But, Rose, if you got more points, you can go on. I just wanted to let you know that there was
No, okay, I'm going to have to definitely check it out. But no, that's pretty much it, man. It's just like from 16, 19, and those. They said it was like late August, and it was like the 400 years. But it's still the same fight that we're fighting 400 plus years now. And it's very important. I was having this conversation last night with my homeboys. Just, I know we can talk about these things on the podcast. I know people are listening, but we are really in a space to where you have to be able to determine the difference between people that are really for the cause and people just talking about it. So like our focus and our goal is to be the exact example that we talk about every week on these podcasts, to really be that. Like, so who was it, Eric that wanted us to talk about this?
Yeah.
Thank him for even bringing that to light, because you get reminded with so much of the history that's been whitewashed or purposely hidden from you. But it was eye-opening, because I reached out to my little sister that they even look at slaves as just like waitresses. And I was like, you really need to know like the real pain that came behind slavery, you know, and that just helps you mentally. It shouldn't be a block for you to say you can never be superior, but it's not that. It's just know where you came from and then the opportunities that are presented for you. Now, is it perfect? It's never going to be perfect, especially in a nation that wasn't built for us. And that's what you should get from listening and reading things. But also from being very optimistic with it, we've come a long way, even though we feel like we haven't. But we just have to really understand that power. And when we take it, as we've taken it back, just keep building on it and like really be for the cause, not just because it sounds cool, but listen to these, you know, podcasts or reading this stuff. It's deep, man. I caught myself shed some tears just like reading through some of it and just hearing people's perspectives on it, watching the live show that they did, and like the people trying to explain the stories of knowing how hard it was just to write it, and they're getting emotional and like breaking down, having to stop for a minute. Then they had a segment that wasn't even allowed to be aired because how graphic that they really delve into, and that's why people had paid tickets to kind of come in, because they wanted to hear that brief window that where they know it'll be put out to the public, but for the privacy of it and how I'm pretty sure how intimate that was to really talk about some of the horrific things of slavery that people don't want to get out, and then they can block it from it being, you know, out to other people. I wish that if they do it again, I would definitely want to be in attendance for that, because I would love to hear that segment to where they didn't show and tell everybody of how graphic it really was with some of those things. So I'm pretty sure it got into like sexual exploitation, a lot of different things that trauma.
Buck breaking.
Yeah, buck breaking, you know.
Nigga cues, as they used to call them. Some people don't know about nigga cues, but they would have barbecues and they would put the black man like a pig over a fire and roast him and cut little pieces of meat off of him and shit like that. Yeah. But they don't talk about that. They'll just talk about, you know, the whips and you know, chains. But no, you was out here really roasting folks like we was real pigs out here and cutting little pieces of meat with your kids and shit.
Yeah.
So probably some of the graphic stuff. Yeah. Right. That's some of the graphic stuff that they probably didn't get to put on there because of YouTube or whatnot. But you know, for our fans out there, what was that again?
I said they didn't consider us human.
Nah, they did 3/5. I ain't 3/5 of nothing. I'm 100% Kang over here. But you know, we run out of time. For our fans out there, this is probably the only time we'll subject. If you know, it is a long and detailed project, so definitely we can't dive into every subject. We're just able to skim over it. So don't be upset if we didn't touch certain parts of it. We just want to hit some highlights. Like I stated, we might touch this again later on, but we're gonna wrap it up. Spears, you have a Black Business Minute?
Yes, sir, I do. So for the Black Business Minute this week, we got the McBride sisters, and you can find them on Instagram, or you can go to their website, www.mcbride SISTERS.com. And so what they are is the largest African-American wine distillery in the United States. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of that background because it's unique and it's remarkable, their story. So Robin and Andrea McBride, two sisters, two continents, one passion. The McBride Sisters Wine Collection is the story of two sisters and our passion for wine. Though continents apart, we were raised in the wine regions of Monterey, California, and Marlborough, New Zealand. Independently growing up in and around vineyards and developing an appreciation for the craft of fine winemaking, living across the world from one another, we had no idea the other existed for nearly half their lives. Despite the 7,000 miles that separated them, we eventually found our way to each other in 1999. Upon meeting, they quickly discovered they shared the same passion for wine and had remarkably similar upbringings. After spending time traveling to wine regions around the world to fine-tune their craft, they created McBride Sisters Wine Collection. Uniting in parallel lives and passion, now the largest African-American owned wine company in the United States, their collection of wine represents a genuine sense of place, both in New Zealand and the central coast of California. Wines are true expressions of each region, terroir, and signature style, abound of old world and elegance of the new world finesse. Their story is proof that a bond can form over a wine bottle and truth that comes to life with every McBride Sisters wine. So that's the story of the McBride Sisters. And it's just remarkable that they didn't know each other, they didn't grow up, and they found each other to create this Black-owned, like I said, largest wine company in the America.
Shout out to the McBride sisters. I'm going to have to get some of that wine.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gonna have to get some of that. Supreme Black Person of the Week. Of course, it should not come without surprise. It's gonna go to Miss Nicole Hannah Jones for her work on the project. She's, as I looked into her story a little bit, she grew up in Iowa where she faced a little bit of discrimination as well, and her journey to being a journalist happened due to that. Where she was in school, due to segregation, she was getting bused to a white school from her Black neighborhood because they wanted to integrate schools somewhat. So she would take an hour bus ride to school and an hour bus ride back from school each day. And she stated that when she was in high school, they would have a paper, and she went to the editor, the head person over the school paper, and said, "Hey, there's no stories about people who look like me in here." And basically, he told her, and which we can take this a long way, if you don't like it, join the newspaper and do something about it. And that's what she did. She joined the newspaper, and she did something about it. Her first article, which was very controversial during that time, was, and probably still is to some people, is Jesus really white? And this is a high school newspaper, and that was her first article, is Jesus really white? And she said, I couldn't prove that he was Black, but one thing I could prove 100% is that he for sure wasn't white. So they published that in the paper, and she said ever since that story, she has fell in love with journalism. So I appreciate the New York Times for letting her be able to put this project out, because I'm sure a lot of places wouldn't allow her to do that and basically get along with other, have other Black people to write on as well. And she said so many Black people worked on this. Is about probably the biggest thing any newspaper has done for Black people, because it's pretty much all worked on by Black people. So she is our supremely Black person of the week. So big ups to her. Big shout out to her for doing this. It is greatly appreciated for you guys that hadn't went out and read. At least read it. Go to New York Times. You can Google it. It's going to pop up on New York Times. You can read it for free. It's going to ask you to join New York Times, but you can do free subscription or whatnot. You're not going to get all the stories, but you will be able to read about the project on there as well. You can also go on YouTube, and I think that video on YouTube is 2 hours long. Mm-hmm. But if you go and read it, they don't they talk about everything, but they don't go in detail as if you go and read it. And it's a long read, but it's well worth it. It's well worth it. So Carl
And they also have a podcast.
Right?
So you can check out the podcast, and it breaks down the
what's the name of the podcast?
Sure. It's the 1619 Project.
Yeah.
So
okay. Is that on all?
Yeah, I got
it
it
on all of them. It's on
Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I don't have a Spotify, but I'm pretty sure it's on Spotify, and I'm pretty sure like the other stuff, Castbox, all of that stuff as well too. So.
All right.
And I
those
just kind of find it
as often as I do, listen to the podcast.
And I also found it kind of it was ironic to me that the New York Times was the ones that was
somebody okay.
Oh, say that again, Rose.
Hey,
you cut all the way out.
You froze.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
I said I just thought it was kind of funny that with it being New York, the New York Times was the ones pushing it, and how a lot of the stuff was going on in New York at that time as well, though. So it was just kind of like, I knew that.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was it.
All right. Yeah. Anybody got anything else when we close them out?
I just want to say to our brothers and sisters, I understand being upset in the confines of your home, being upset on the streets that you protest on, but you got to do more. Whether it's going to a city council meeting, whether it's finding and dedicating some time to your closest nonprofit that has to deal with your people and helping your community, whether it's joining the Big Brothers Big Sisters Club, helping kids in the neighborhood Boys and Girls Club next to you, you got to do more, because if we don't, we will be extinct in this land that we call America. Because at the end of the day, they are out to exterminate us. And if we don't do something to protect ourselves, and if we don't do more than just be mad and cry and scream and get on our knees and pray, we will be extinct. And so my challenge to you is to, and again, I'm not saying that you got to be on the front lines and you got to be trying to fight or up in arms and try to shoot, but my challenge to you is to do more than what you're doing now. Stop looking to your politicians, stop looking to your celebrities, stop looking to your athletes, stop looking to your millionaires or whoever it is. Stop looking to your pastors and your preachers. Look to yourself, and you do more. And when you start with you, that will be a trickle-down effect to everybody else. But you got to start with you. So do more, please, for us, for yourself, for your children, for your nieces and nephews, your brothers and sisters, your aunts and uncles, your mamas and your mothers. Do more for you. And that's all I got to leave you with.
And by doing that, you're saying us as well, not saying just other people, but starting with us as well. So just to make sure that we're included into that so nobody takes that in the incorrect way.
I mean, they can they can fact check us, so I'm not worried about that. Yeah, we included, but they can fact check us.
Yeah, I'm just saying though. You know, I'm like, well, what y'all doing? Okay, we gonna get into that. You know how it could go.
Yeah. I feel you.
Feel like you gonna close it out, brother?
Oh yes, sir. For all my queens out there, show them you ain't 3/5 of nothing. You 100% queen. Put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side, and let them know you are a queen. For all my kings out there, for sure, let them know you ain't 3/5 of nothing. You 100% king out there. Put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side, let them know you are a king. We are supremely black, and we love y'all.